Welcome to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Join the podcast mogul Phil Better as he interviews successful entrepreneurs that make their living in the digital world. Now, let's join your host, Phil Better, and his special guest today on Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I am, of course, your host with the most, Phil Better, and today I am happy to have a founder and CEO of a company that's helping to transform how Canadians experience giving. I am pleased to have the CEO and founder of Charitable Impact. He was a former working in corporate finance and charity law. He decided to fund this to Charitable Impact to transform how Canadians experience giving. He's a two-time TEDx speaker, BIV's 40 under 40 winner, and a proud father of two. So please, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for John Bromley, a fellow Canadian.
Phil, thanks for having me. Appreciate that kind introduction. Yeah, but you've given away the fact that I'm probably now over 40, which is true.
Shh, we don't have to say that. No one knows. No one has to know how old you are. You won it. It doesn't know when you won it, so you can still be under 40. You could just be on that cusp.
Thank you.
Yes, John. Yes, I did do a lovely introduction, but I would love to hear it from your words. Who are you, and what is Charitable Impact?
Sure. Well, so I'm John Bromley. I'm an accidental entrepreneur, actually. I'm a guy from Vancouver, British Columbia. So up here in the west side of Canada, but spent my university years and early career out where you're at, Phil, in Montreal. I went to McGill, and I started my career in corporate finance, which is kind of what I wanted to do at the time, actually. And I never really had any pathway that I saw to becoming an entrepreneur. It was somewhat accidental, and I think that's an important message for people who are thinking about becoming an entrepreneur. There's two tracks to get there. We can talk about that a little later, but very briefly, one track is like you want to become an entrepreneur and you look and you try ideas and you go for it. And the other is you're a subject matter expert in something and you sort of stumble into becoming an entrepreneur because you're not sure anyone else can do what you think needs to be done for the marketplace. Which is what I am. I'm an accidental subject matter expert kind of entrepreneur. So I came out of corporate finance. I was doing my stuff. My old man, my father, who I'm in good relations with, happens to be the pioneer of charity law in Canada. Knows more about charity than most people. Has forgotten more about charity, as they say, than most people have learned in their lifetime. And I just learned a ton and saw opportunities that needed to be fixed. And in short, so started Charitable Impact. Charitable Impact operates kind of like a charity bank. So anyone who wants to give money away, we work for you as the donor. Okay, so you can put your money in with us. You get a tax seat right away. You can hold the money there. You can even invest the money from there and then distribute it to your causes and charities of choice, once you're ready and feeling confident. And we do that because we recognize that in the experience most people have with charity, nobody's working for them, the donor. All of the talent and the time, the vast majority of the talent and the time in the charity sector goes towards helping the charities. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but we saw a really important opportunity to help the donors. And so we started Charitable Impact to create the tools and then layered services on top of that. And here we are today.
I love that. I love how you're taking care of the donors. Everyone's taking care of the charities, which is great. And it's important. You're helping charities as well because you're giving them access to even more wealth by being that middle person taking care of the donors who want sometimes the white glove service, because some people want to have that nice extra service to know that their money is going to be doing a bigger impact in the world.
One of the biggest problems the biggest problem I think that's not talked about in the charity sector is that there's nowhere to learn really about giving. There's nowhere really to learn about that. So we're all born with this generosity, but we don't necessarily know how to channel it, especially when it comes to charitable giving. So in that context, it's hard to be confident about things you don't really know. I mean, to pretend to be Canadian for a second. I mean, how many of us are comfortable lacing on the skates and going out there and playing hockey when we've never really skated before or been taught how to skate, right? We've only just
Yeah.
seen the game maybe on TV. So low. So that's the same with everything in life. How confident are you as a cook if you've never really done it before? And so the confidence issue is really important as people feel comfortable and confident that the decisions they're making are good enough. At least they can learn from them if they're not good enough, and they feel like their time and their talent and their money is going towards an organization that's actually making an impact. They're more willing to do it more because it's more fun and they feel great about it. And so that issue of confidence is a really, really big one. And it's something we're actually focused on as an organization to try solve. It's just not one of these clear cut, issues that, you can read a textbook on how to solve. It's actually an experiential thing.
And with you deciding to go into the charity sector and helping the donors make sure that their funds get hit the right impact and create the changes that they're looking for, have you noticed more more people coming to you and saying, "Hey, I was referred by XYZ because they had such a great use of your services"?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, to date, we're over a decade old. We've done over $1 billion through our platform in a small country like Canada. Those are pretty substantive numbers, and yet we've done very little marketing. I mean, we spend money on people, but we don't spend money on demand generation, advertisements, things like that, or very, very little for a business of our size. So most of what we find is this word of mouth. Donors, come to us, they meet our platform, they might talk to us, they meet us, they go, oh, it was cool that someone held my hand for a little bit, got me going, and now I feel comfortable making my own decisions. um, you know this type of role, the role we play, actually is really easy to find in the non-charity world. I mean, you can go to your bank, you can get help with a mortgage, you can go to your bank, get help with investments, but where do you go to get help with your charitable giving? um, Nowhere generally, and that's what charitable impact is, and that's why we exist.
I love that you're you're giving it's that white glove service. It's the thing that everybody wants. They want help to know that their money is going the right place, and you guys are doing that. Um, I'm interested to know. You said that you spend money on your people. That means your team to grow the business, find the charities, and all that. How how was it? How was it hiring your first group of people, finding the right people to make sure that they're giving the service that you or like your father-in-law or your father were giving at the same time?
Well, it goes without saying that people are the most important asset in a business, right? At least a business like ours. I mean, the intellectual property is second in my view to the people. Um, so critically important, and it's not easy, right? It's really not easy. There's lots of talented people out there, but finding the right skill set at the right time with the right culture fit is really, really difficult. And it's something that we've done pretty well on, I think, through the years, but we've also struggled with. One of these famous sayings, you hear these things and they sound so cheesy, and you just want to roll your eyes until you really figure out how true they are. And one I'm going to share with you today is hire slow, fire fast. And that is certainly something that entrepreneurs really need to, get their head around. There's a reason why it's such a short, pithy statement. It's really, really true. When you can take the extra time to give yourself more confidence that you're, choosing the right person to work with you, and putting them in the right seat in the organization, it pays dividends. And when you don't take that extra time, it can really be a hard experience, and you got to move quickly to get rid of people, no matter how hard it is. Now, if you don't mind, let me just create the analogous situation, because it's also true of charitable giving. If you're just reactionary and you sort of go, oh, that charity asked me for money, I'm going to give them money, and the probability that you're going to feel really great about what you did, and the probability that you're going to actually hear back from the charity about what impact that they created, as opposed to just hearing back from them when they want more money from you, is low. Whereas if you sort of take your time and get comfortable and build relationships and go, oh yeah, this is why I want to support this organization, even if they're not perfect, this is why I support them. They really know what they're doing. Donors end up being happier. And so, here's where what Charitable Impact is trying to do with its customers, its donors, is also true of what the entrepreneur, in this case, me and my senior team, experience with hiring people. People are super fun, and they can be really difficult. It can be the best and the worst part of the experience of being an entrepreneur, is dealing with people.
Now, I would love to get a tip for people who are in your, maybe not in the charity world, or maybe adjacent in they have to hire and find people. A tip to help them find the people that can fit with their culture and make sure that the roles are good with them. Maybe a tip for that, for the entrepreneur who's hiring the first time. They're hiring for the first time. They're looking for someone to add to their culture. A tip for them.
Yeah. So first of all, I think culture is, more important at a lot of levels than skill. But I'm going to flip you on that for us, because we're a very missional organization, very missionally focused, very missionally driven. We say no to things that look lucrative, that we don't think we should do, because they take us adrift from where we want to be missionally. And in 2023, more than in 2005, um, younger people in particular, but it's actually true of older people too, are looking for more missional oriented businesses to work with, so that the time they spend day to day at work, which is a lot of time, makes them feel good and comfortable about what they're doing, and doesn't just make them money. So, when if people come and want to apply to Charitable Impact and all they want to do is save the world, we actually go, thanks, sounds like you're missionally aligned, but let's talk about the skills. But in most, like, the skills you have, and the what you can bring to the organization to make us better than at doing what we're doing today. But I think, like, if you're not a super obviously missional organization, right, the way someone who's working with donors in the charity sector, is, you kind of have to flip that and go, okay, really focus on to start on the skill set that people are bringing, and then shift to going, okay, but are you going to be, someone who adds value to the community of employees we're building, to the community of clients that we're working with? Because in my case, culture fit has always been the problem or the opportunity, more so than the pure skill basis. In other words, when someone has really worked out, it's generally over time been because they are a really true culture fit and become a cultural leader in the organization, even if they're an engineer, right? So it's not like all culture is HR driven, right? Um, uh, and not where it's just like, hey, you're not good enough at your job, sorry, we've got to let you go. Like, culture, what's the famous saying? Another Canadian said this: culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? It's true in the hiring world even more so. Like, culture eats HR for business all day long. Eats Culture eats HR for breakfast, sorry, all day long.
I love that, hiring for the culture, making sure they're not only a fit with the culture and the mission alignment, but they have the skills that can boost it. Because skills can be taught. If they already have some, you can transfer skills from other levels. But if they fit in the culture and they're mission aligned, it's better than just having the skills and they're not aligned with either other.
100%. The thing I'll add to that is, culture fit doesn't mean everyone agrees with you.
Mhm.
Culture fit means that, there's a safe and secure environment, so that really important stuff like disagreement can happen, right? The last thing you want, even though it feels really good, the last thing you want as an entrepreneur is for everyone just to pat you on the back and agree with you all the time.
Yeah.
Um, um, as hard as it is at times for people to disagree with you, that's where the value is actually created, and where, misalign where disagreement, comes into alignment, because it's not always about agreement, it's ultimately about alignment. There's so much gray zone that becomes black and white in those moments. And when you are feel like you're in black and white, decision making becomes so easy, right? Decision making in the gray is actually where the art comes. Decision making on black and white is much more of a science.
I would love to hear about a win that you had where there was a disagreement, maybe in the senior management or maybe with the employees, something that where it came out where it was an alignment for both of you, like it ended up working out. Don't have to go into specifics or anything like that if you have a story, something like that.
So I don't have to name names. Is that what you're saying?
No, if you want to throw people under the
I'm
bus, sure. I'm not going to censor you, but you can use false
I'm
names or
just
anything
kidding.
like that.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Look, another rule of thumb, at least, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to be willing to take accountability and responsibility for everything, even the stuff that like went out the door that you never even knew about. So I was saying that out of jest. So one of the things that's really important about charitable impact, and that actually makes us unique as a donor advised fund, or what I refer to, it's analogous to a charity bank, is that regardless of what charities you care about, and regardless of how much money you give away, you're welcome at Charitable Impact, right? And so accessibility, level playing field for smaller donors or people who give less money away, not necessarily relative to their income, but less money away in terms of macro raw dollar terms, are as welcome at Charitable Impact and get the same tools and services as those who don't. And as a result, having done well over $1 billion worth of charitable donations through Charitable Impact now, we have this is some context for the answer I'm going to give you. Okay.
Okay.
So, we have, our largest account, has, well north of $50 million in it, right? Of assets that are invested, and a bunch of money has been given away. And yet both of my kids that you introduced at the top, who are today 10 and 11 years old, also have impact accounts at Charitable Impact. And I pay my kids, or I give my kids, a charitable allowance, right? So their account has like $20 or $50 in it. Meanwhile, I got a couple people up here with tens of millions of dollars in their accounts. And so one of the disagreements that we had early on in the business was whether Charitable Impact would serve all Canadians, regardless of how much money they give away, or whether it would just serve the wealthier ones, where it's easier to monetize, and smaller targeted audiences are also easier to market and tailor to. And with the longer story short, it was a critical culture piece for the business to understand, especially for me, that like I wasn't going to stick around if it was just going to be a business that was for the high net worth donors, because the goal is to help all Canadians give. And who knows? I mean, if a Canadian who starts giving $50, maybe the way Bill Gates did when he was, 17, 18, 19, might go on to give billions away later once they've succeeded as an adult. In other words, you got to learn how to give charitably before, you can actually give large amounts of money away. This whole idea that like, oh, I'll give money away once I'm rich, is total BS, by the way. Tons of people, because there's always a better car, there's always a bigger house, there's always a nicer plane to buy. So if you don't teach and nurture charitable giving when people are younger, the probability that they start when they're older is actually lower than you would think it is. So here's this piece that has ended up becoming one of the most important cultural aspects of Charitable Impact, that any Canadian, no matter how much money you have to give away, is welcome inside the charity bank that is Charitable Impact. Started as a disagreement originally, because why don't we just go and service the easier high net worth market? And the answer was because we're actually a business that's focused on increasing access to and participation in giving, regardless of how much money you have. And while there was some fighting around that and some interesting conversation and some disagreement, ultimately we got in alignment. That's who we are and that's who we stand for. And 10 years later, that's true. First of all, it's still true today. And secondly, we have this clear part of our business that works with investment advisors and helps them help their clients with charitable giving. And those are usually bigger accounts, and they deal with non-cash assets like publicly traded securities, cryptocurrencies, real estate, private company shares. And then we have tens of thousands of, I don't know, normal people like me, and maybe you, Phil. I don't know you well enough to say that, but like relatively
I fit
normal
in that
Canadians who
that
give a
factor.
little bit here and there. Yeah, right. So, sorry for the long-winded answer, but there's a really critical part of our business that's so important to our brand and culture that started with disagreement and ended in alignment. And 10 years later, we're still aligned that way. And you could never change as long as I'm the CEO, that part of our business.
I love that it was early on that you had this major decision, because it is a cultural decision in your business. Like, are we going to be focused on this one thing, even though it doesn't really connect to our mission statement? Like, your mission statement was making it easier to give and make an impact giving for everyone. But if you're focused only on the 1%, or the ones who have those big assets, then you're not aligned with that mission statement. So I loved how everything came into alignment. I want to hear about a win that you had with Charitable Impact. I love how you said that your kids, you give a charitable impact allowance to your kids. That's amazing. I think more parents should do that as well. And knowing that there is this opportunity with Charitable Impact, that it's open to all Canadians, I'm definitely going to be making sure I share this with as many people as I can. This episode is going to be a great one to share, not only for my entrepreneurs learning, but also how Canadians can actually impact more people with their charitable donations. Um, I want to hear about a win that running Charitable Impact gave you.
Well, there's two contexts for that. There's sort of the philosophical, and then there's the day-to-day, and so they're related. The philosophical is that I think the biggest problem in the charity sector that no one's really working on, by the way, with some exceptions, us being a major one, is this problem of there's nowhere to learn about giving, right?
Mhm.
And so charities are so focused on fundraising, which is a sales and marketing mechanism. They're not actually teaching and nurturing their donor base, right? So the problem with that is it's like, I don't know, fishing fleets going out there and fishing all the time, but not worrying about, how many fish there are left in the ocean and making sure that we're, allowing enough to grow and stuff, right? So the donor base has to be developed and nurtured. Otherwise, you'll be fishing from no one. And I think that's a substantive and a serious uh, uh, a threat, existential threat to the charity sector. So I really love bringing my subject matter expertise on charity to solve that problem. I mean, my difficulty getting up in the morning going to work is like so small because I just really love that big challenge. Now, how does that express itself day to day? I mean, the type of wins that really get me excited are the ones that you might not think, right? You might be like, oh yeah, the guy gave 10 million bucks into his account. John, are you excited about that? Hey, I'm happy. I'm glad. We've also created a really good service that helps people do that stuff. Okay. But the stuff that really is meaningful to me isn't about how much money you've done. It's the people who come in and say, you know what? Thanks to opening an account with Charitable Impact and just starting to be, I'm more thoughtful about my giving today. I feel better about my giving. I'm more confident, and actually I'm giving more money away a little bit, right? The small wins that happen along the way where a donor goes from wanting to do it because maybe they think it's the right thing to do, or maybe it's a religious thing for them, or maybe it's a personal thing. They've had relationships to health or the environment that they want to do something. They want to create change in the world, but they didn't know how. The things that really get me excited are when someone comes along and they go, oh yeah, I started not knowing how, and now I know a little bit better. And then you talk to them 2 or 3 months later, and they're like, yeah, actually I figured this out, and thanks for helping me figure this out, and now I'm here. And because the goal is to help develop more donors who are confident and comfortable with their charitable giving, right? What we see in the future is a world where everyone opts into charitable giving, and then those who kind of go, it's not really for me, opt out. But that's not where we are today. Generally speaking, people are not engaged with charitable giving, and it costs a lot of money. and inefficient money to get them involved with giving. So if Charitable Impact can change that, that's huge. Now I'm back at that macro level. The reason we know we're going the right direction is because there's so many micro stories in Charitable Impact about donors coming by and saying, look, thanks Charitable Impact for helping me become a better donor. And it's not so much about patting yourself on the back and, hanging the jacket up and calling it a day after that. It's about we're going in the right direction. Let's keep doing what we're doing and staying true to who we are.
I love that. And I love how you have those micro stories just popping over time, creating the big tidal wave of change that's coming. And I think I'm glad I can be just a little bit a part of it, because I'm going to push this out as free marketing for you guys, which is great, and for the Canadians as well. We're coming up to the end of the episode, which I hate. So we're going to hit the spark question of the show. Spark comes from the the creators of Yes Theory, and how they are saying a spark a conversation with a stranger, because a stranger is just a friend you haven't met yet. And I like this one. This one is going to be good for you. If you could design a museum exhibition that represents you, what items would be put on display?
Oh my gosh, that's a hard question. So I'm not seeing items. What I'm seeing is kind of, context. So one of the things that I'm prepared to be wrong about, but think I'm right about, is that if you want to make people charitable, you don't sort of like pull them towards charity with things like guilt, right? Like, hey, you should be charitable because it makes you a better person. I mean, I happen to agree that's true. What you do is you pull them towards charitable giving by integrating charitable giving into things that they're already doing. So what I'm seeing in this museum is like, oh well, here's a customer experience where you just thought you were buying a donut, but you ended up, earning charity dollars, as a result of buying the donut. And when the company did that, their sales went up, but also their customers, went away with some charity dollars and spent them on what they wanted to. And look at how the information, was shared with the company to see what their customers did with the money, which told the company something about their customer. And look at how grateful the customer was to receive this royalty kind of charity dollar that they could, give to things that they, care about, right? As opposed to the business always choosing, which is the way it kind of works today, which is why no one really cares about corporate philanthropy, if I to say it bluntly. So then also, like, what else do you do? Oh, I go to school, right? Like, my kids go to school. Well, I think my kids go to school. I know I drop them off there. So so you drop
You at least drop them
that
off.
was charity, and they're back by 3 when it's time to pick them up. So I know that stuff's good. Okay, so here we are being honest. Okay, so oh, here's this school exhibition, and it's this exhibition about like how charity was integrated into the school to create an experiential learning environment where the kids could, take charity dollars on their own, make their own decisions, and apply them to the things they're learning. Gee, we just did this module in school about food security, and we were able to take some dollars and make decisions on, whether or not money should go towards food security. And if we think that, then what inside food security, like what charity should benefit from it? What about workplaces, right? How cultures can be changed once giving is flexibly and properly integrated into the environment. So I could go on and on and on. Sports environments, friends, giving clubs amongst people, all this stuff. So what I see more is, instead of items, is I see an exhibit that sort of talks about how we used to have school over here and charitable giving over there, and we used to have workplaces here and charitable giving over there. And then what happened was those things brought together, and the workplaces and the schools were more happy, and the donors were more happy, and more impact got created for a lower, cost, and things got better. So I think that's what I would see.
I would love to see that exhibit. That would be an amazing exhibit to see. John, I'm going to jump off the screen here. I'm going to give you the last little bit. Please let my audience know where they can connect with you guys at Charitable Impact if they're interested in opening accounts or even just supporting you. So the floor, sir, is yours.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. Look, we've got 3 beliefs at Charitable Impact. So let me just start there. first, everyone listening, has something they want to create change for. And all of those people have something they can do to create change for that, right? Whether it's giving some of their time and their talent or their money. We also believe that when you give, you get something in return. So if you are culturally aligned with those statements, please come and visit us at Charitable Impact. We're here to serve you as the donor, regardless of how much money you give away, regardless of what causes or charities you give to. It's your giving, your way, with our support, right? So you can find us online, charitableimpact.com. We're in social media at We Are Charitable. And come check us out, follow us, and reach out to us. We've got a very talented group of people working here, and their sole purpose is to help you create the change you want to see in the world. So we're not selling anything other than participate in giving. It's up to you to determine what you want to do. Find us online. We're here to help you. CharitableImpact.com.
I love it. John, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show, sharing your story, telling us more about Charitable Impact and how you're looking to change the world with more giving. I can't thank you enough.
Phil, thanks for the opportunity. That was a great interview. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. To my audience, please make sure you check out the show notes down below to connect with John and the show. I want to thank you so much for listening, and always remember to invest in yourself.